Let's make sure. Yeah. All right. So we are recording now. So I will we've got Mo Sanderson here, Maureen Sanderson, to teach you guys all a little bit about some lacrosse 101. So I'll let her go over her background. I'm KK for those of you that I have not met, which is probably a lot of you if you're parents. I deal more with the directors, a little bit with the coaches, but mostly the girls directors. And I'm the one that like organizes your games, your officials, all of that good stuff. So I will let Mo take it away, and then I'll just keep letting people in as they join. Mo.
Perfect. Yeah. Hi, nice to sort of see everybody. My name is Mo Sanderson, and I am really excited to talk to you all lacrosse parents tonight about what a fun sport your daughters are playing or potentially you're coaching. And if you're able to turn your camera on, that would be awesome. It's really nice to see faces. Thank you, Rick, for turning your camera on. So I guess, KK, I don't know if there's functionality to do a chat or anything, but I would just be curious if people are able to put in the chat. I would love to know what ages of youth girls players are we talking to for parents, and are there any parent coaches here, and just maybe if any people have any experience with lacrosse before this. All right. No prior experience. We got 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 8U, 12U, 8. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I think we just jump in. I just kind of wanted to get a little taste of who's here and also give you guys the option to, if you have any questions while we're going through this, you can use the raise hand feature. Yeah, go ahead, KK. You can go to the next one. Because really this is for you. So KK put together a general outline. I added just a couple thoughts based on my own experience and really want to make this useful for you. So the idea, the outline is we're just going to talk basics of lacrosse, give you guys a sense of all the important things you need to know as a parent in terms of the logistical side, like what kind of equipment do you need? What does the field look like? What are some of the basic rules? But more importantly, how can you best support your daughters as they are going into this amazing sport so that they keep playing for a really, really long time? That would be my hope for all of them. Yeah, so go ahead, KK, we can move on. So just a little bit about me, a little background. I'm actually not originally from Minnesota. I am right now in Stillwater where I live, but was born and raised out on the East Coast in Connecticut and moved to Minnesota 20 years ago, and really happy to help spread and grow the game of lacrosse that I was blessed enough to play both in high school and in college. And played for a small D3 school out in New York, Hobart and William Smith, and was able to go to the NCAA championships, which was an amazing experience and really influenced a lot of how I coach and teach the game. And in that, I've been coaching youth, I've coached high school, and I've coached at the collegiate level here in Minnesota and have loved coaching at all levels. But I definitely have a soft spot for teaching the game to beginners, especially those youth girls. I'm also a lacrosse mom of 3. I have 2 daughters and a son who all played lacrosse through youth, high school. And then my 2 daughters my youngest daughter is still playing at Milwaukee School of Engineering. My oldest daughter played at Coast Guard Academy out in Connecticut. So for me, lacrosse has been a part of my life for a really long time, and I love talking about it with parents like you. I'm also a trainer for Positive Coaching Alliance. Really believe in the mission of all of us parents and coaches giving any player that we're coaching or raising the best possible experience they can have, and hopefully keep them playing for a long time. And then over the time during the pandemic, I made the decision to go back to school, get my master's in mental health counseling. So I'm also doing that right now here in Stillwater at the high school and in a clinic setting as well. So talking to parents, families, couples, and individuals about enhancing and improving their overall mental health. If you have any questions, please let me know about any of that. But KK, we can go on. So your daughters are playing lacrosse. This is the best thing ever. I know I'm a little bit biased, but it is one of the greatest games. There's so much action, there's so much excitement, and your daughters are going to be most successful if they have a really good lacrosse stick. That's one of the most important things. KK's nodding because we've been around the game long enough to know that there were some really outdated flat sticks that were sticking around these parts for a little bit longer than they had to. But essentially, you don't need to go in and get a fancy stick that's custom strung with your daughter's youth association colors in it. One of the best sticks you can get is a stick that's coming directly from the factory, just off the shelf, a good stick that has a little bit of give, a little bit of a pocket. And KK, I don't really want to recommend certain brands. I don't know if you have any that you like to recommend. I don't want to be biased towards one company or another.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's not one that I would recommend for any, but I think making sure, like Mo said, that it's not, you don't want a tennis racket. So, like, if it is the shaft and then the strings are all in line, that's not what you want. So you want to have a little bit of like a pocket with the stringing compared to where the head of the stick is. I think that's the biggest thing to make sure that you do, because like most said, like it's going to significantly impact their abilities to catch and throw. And that's the hardest thing when they're learning, and something that we don't want them to be turned off by. So there's been plenty of times where, like, we're doing clinics and I
Yeah.
player my stick because I see that it's a tennis racket and they just can finally catch and throw. When they have mine. So I think being aware of that is something that is going to make a world of a difference in your kids' experience.
Yeah, for sure. I think just being, as parents, it's really good to familiarize yourself with the sticks, because there's a lot you can do to maintain it. Where some people think, oh, a string broke in my stick, I need to go get a new stick. There are ways that you can just replace a string that may have broken. So just becoming acquainted with your daughter's stick. But essentially, there's three parts: the head, the plastic part is the head of the stick, which is then screwed into the shaft. So you can actually, if your daughter's playing with maybe an older stick or a used stick, it might shake around. You can take the head off with a screwdriver and try to either put something in there, but there's ways that you really want that connection to be solid and that the head of the stick isn't wobbling around in the shaft. And then the butt of the stick is that little plastic bottom of the stick that protects. It's just, I don't know if they're required anymore because there's some composite sticks that are kind of all in one, but you don't want the bottom of the stick to be open and exposed. Any questions on sticks before we move on? I do think like asking a lot of questions. If you have any questions about sticks like that, I would say throw those in the chat, because that I would agree with KK that when I coach clinics and even in my youth coaching, even at the high school level, oftentimes when I'm teaching the basics to a young girl or even a high school student, if their stick is not strung right, if it's too loose or too tight, it really impacts their ability to pass, catch, cradle, and scoop. And so really practicing with that and trying to get it tuned up just right is a really good use of your time and your daughter's time. Other equipment that's super important and required, a mouth guard. And I'm a stickler about this, like personally, and all of you parents, especially if you have girls that have had dental work or are going to potentially have dental work, just really encourage them to keep their mouth guards in whenever they're practicing or playing. That's really important. If you can get a case that they can even keep in their backpack or something so that they know it's always there and they don't have the tendency to forget it. Goggles are required as well. And these, kind of like the stick, I would say it's really important to find a pair of goggles that feel good on your daughter's head. Okay, so when you're going to try on goggles or you're deciding what kind of goggles, have her put her hair up in a ponytail if she has long hair. Have her put it on and tighten it and see how it feels when it's pressed against her face. Make sure that it can be tightened enough to fit her well. That is also, like, oftentimes when the girls, especially if they're little, it's falling down on their face and then really not protecting them the way that it's designed. So finding a really good, and KK, jump in, I don't know if they must have some that are more youth sized versus the high school or college.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain. I think STX has a youth one. I don't know if Gate does. But yeah, there are some youth specific sizing ones because it is all about just the metal frame and how it's shaped for head sizes. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure STX is a good one to go with.
STX. Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of lacrosse balls, it's so great. KK, I'm glad that you put these on there. These lax balls are like a really firm beanbag, I guess is the best way of describing it. So your daughter can practice playing with a ball that she could actually kind of like mess around with, and it's not going to bounce down the driveway and into the street. So those are really good. I think they're a little bit pricier than a typical lacrosse ball.
Yeah.
But if you were to get one or two, or even have a few tennis balls, then your daughter can practice even just messing around with her stick in her hand with a ball in it, even in your house, and the ball wouldn't do any damage, especially a tennis ball if it were to fall out. I believe all goggles and lacrosse balls have to be NOXI certified or something. KK, is that right?
Yeah, the SEI certified, or the balls are NOXI and then the goggles are SEI. I don't know
Right.
what the difference is. They're just different organizations and they're safety tested to make sure that they will withstand, I mean, lacrosse balls are different, but the goggles are, a nice high level metal that's not going to break down and will be able to take a ball to the face.
Right. And for some, I've worked with parents in the past who their daughter shows up on the first day and she's wearing a helmet. Um, there are some girls lacrosse helmets that are available, but I haven't seen them with the girls I've coached. They've shown up wearing like a boys lacrosse helmet or like a goalie helmet. That it's really not advisable. If they're going to go with a helmet, go with like the soft helmet that is, available for girls lacrosse, or goggles. And I don't know, KK, if we do any co-ed leagues, but then maybe both boys and girls are wearing helmets.
Yeah, that's 6U is the only co-ed and they don't wear a helmet. They don't wear anything.
Okay.
But yeah, the goggles, their Cascade is the only company that I know that makes a girl's helmet. But yeah, if you show up with a boy's helmet, they will not be able to play in a game because they're not legal to play in games.
Right. Last for equipment is cleats. It is going to be really important that your daughter gets a good pair of cleats to wear. And there are some lacrosse specific cleats. A lot of the girls I coached in high school and college liked wearing football cleats, but really finding what fits your daughter's foot so that she can run comfortably. Hopefully break them in a little bit before the season starts, maybe take her to the park and kind of mess around so she can soften them up a little bit. But that's a really, really good investment for your daughter to have some good, comfortable cleats to wear. And then always have a water bottle with her, some kind of a backpack with a water bottle. I think, as we know right now, I mean, it's feeling a little bit warmer, but the Minnesota spring and summer, it's important that all of our girls stay hydrated. So they should have a water bottle with them at every practice so that when coaches give a water break, they're able to go and take care of that. Any questions on equipment before we go on to the goalie stuff? Any on field player equipment? Does anybody have any questions? You can throw it in the chat. And also, if there are any parents on here who are also coaches, could you please just throw that in the chat that you're coaching, and if you've had any coaching experience, that would be good. But for any of you who are raising a future goalie, awesome. I'm married to a goalie, so it's pretty cool. They're amazing people, but they do get different equipment because they have to be protected. All goalies will be wearing a helmet with a throat guard or a neck guard, as you can see in the picture there. And that style, that hard plastic, is a really good style throat protector for the goalies. Yeah, okay, Jenny, we'll circle back. Great question about budgets for a new stick. But it's really important if you are going to go buy a goalie helmet that you get one that fits your player's head. They make some that are like adjustable. Most of the sporting goods stores will be able to help you out with fitting it correctly, but just making sure that you not only get the helmet, but you also get the that throat guard. And then they have their own chest protector that has to be certified, special goalie gloves. So for those of you who have a son who also plays lacrosse, a boy's lacrosse glove is not the same as a goalie glove. The goalie gloves come with hard thumb covers so that when they're punching out to save a ball, they don't injure their thumb with just some foam padding there. And then girls can wear shin guards I think they're probably required at youth, right, KK?
Yeah,
Shin
they are.
guards. Okay. And then some padded shorts. This is like some kind of a pelvic protector and padding on the thighs and up on the hips, because all the goalies are going to get hit and we want them to feel pretty secure in net. And then the goalie stick is a little bit, obviously a lot different than the field player stick, in that the head is quite a bit bigger. And just like with the field player stick, if your daughter's going to play goalie and you are going to buy her a stick, I would encourage you to buy a stick that has come pre-strung from the factory. Rather than going into a shop and someone is like, oh, I'll do a special one for you. Just take it off the rack and then let her try that before you make any adjustments to it. KK, I hope that's okay to say. I just have found working with goalies that that's sort of the best.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay, we can go to the next. Oh, any questions on goalie equipment? And then Jenny, I'm going to come back to your question on budget. Do we have any goalie parents here? I don't see anybody responding to that, so maybe not. But if your daughter's playing at the youth level, there's a really good chance that your association has goalie equipment and she might get an opportunity to play and put it on. So you may be spectating and watching your daughter play goalie. Okay, Jenny, great question. I'm sure others have this as well. Budget for a new stick. You know, that's really hard. Like, I wish that I was a entrepreneur and I had invented like the perfect $85 amazing lacrosse stick that would take you from, you know, U6, U8 all the way to basically high school. But I didn't. I think you can get a really good stick, and KK, you might have to jump in, but like I would say around 100, 125. Is that right, KK?
A lot of the youth ones are cheaper, so I would say if you have like a U8 or a U10, I would probably buy them like a youth specific lacrosse stick. Sorry for my coughing 4-year-old. But if they're like a U12 or a U14, they can get away with a woman's stick, and that, yeah, I would say 100, 125 for that. For the youth sticks, they're like, you can get some. I'm looking on like Lacrosse Unlimited, which, you know, you can go to Dick's and you can get the sticks. And some of them are okay, some of them are better than others, but like it's also not horrible to shop online for lacrosse sticks. And it looks like they are ranged from like 50 to, I mean, one is 150. I would not get that one. But like String King, if they like mesh, String King has a $70 youth stick. And then, yeah, they look to be about like $70 on average.
I think that the String King is a good stick.
Yeah.
And the ones Rick put in a thing about Dick's having some from like 60 to 80. That's great.
Yeah.
I would just say, take a ball when you like, there's balls there at Dick's or wherever you go, put one in the stick and like actually hold it and kind of flip the ball around if you can, just to see how it feels in the pocket of the stick, which if you, KK, if you go back maybe just to the stick picture for a second,
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to know, like, yeah, where KK has the cursor right now, that's the pocket of a girl's stick. It's not down at that's not that really right by that bottom of the stick there where the stopper is. That is not the pocket of a girl's stick. The pocket's a little bit higher, and you really want to push the ball into that pocket so it gets kind of broken in right there. If they keep it down by the base, the ball's going to bop around a lot. So yeah, just kind of be aware that the pocket is up there, and when they're cradling correctly, the ball will sit nicely in that pocket. All right. And then we have some coaches on here. We have a goalie mom on here that just jumped into the chat. Thank you. And Jeremy played lacrosse on the boys' side, but now he's coaching girls. So that's super fun. It's amazing. Here's the thing about if you have sons too, or if Jeremy, if there are others on here that have played in the past, the basic skills of boys and girls lacrosse are the same. You have to pass, catch, cradle, scoop, dodge, shoot, whatever, assist, but the rules and the field markings and so many other aspects of the game are really, really different. I mean, it really truly is like two different games, but Jeremy, if you stick with the fundamentals that you know from the boys game and teach those to the girls, passing, catching, scooping, cradling, dodging, shooting, you should be good to go. And then the goalie mom, yeah, if you have any specific questions regarding goalies, please throw them in the chat and KK and I can circle back to that. Okay, so looking at just some field markings, frankly, for parents, unless you're coaching and you need to paint the field or assist your association with like marking and painting the field, which I've done many times, the most important thing I think as parents is that you're just respecting what your association is giving you. When, as a coaching coordinator here in Stillwater for many years, we were at this time of year very anxious to figure out what fields could we paint, what fields were we going to get out on for the team. But at the end of the day, your park and rec department or whoever you get your fields through, they're going to give you space, and I would say make the best of that space that you have, that it's safe for the girls, that it has good, quality lines, that you have some good nets, and that the girls can run around and have fun. The small sided setup is a much shorter field, which is fantastic because the girls, the boys, but the youth players, they get way more touches on the ball. So sometimes as adults, we think we got to play just like they do in college. We got to play just like they do in high school on the turf field. But really, if we can go back to some small sided games, our players are going to get way more touches and hopefully have a lot more fun and want to stick around playing a lot longer. Anything else on the small sided unified fields, KK?
No, I think that's it. Just like for a reference though, so like this, like the light gray, I mean, it's kind of showing that as a whole, you can fit 2 small fields on 1 large field. So that to give you guys a size reference, that's the width of the big fields is the length of these small fields. So that is what like the 6U, 8U, and 10Us play on, both for boys and girls. But yeah, I think that's just kind of like size reference. That's about it. And then we'll talk about like the other parts of the field next.
On the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the small sided games, I mean, even the high school girls and college,
Yep.
when we were coaching at the high school and college level, when we could make a small field and just have lots of reps for the girls, it's great for their awareness, how they read and react to plays, how they stay spread out and make the most of the space that they do have, and move the ball quickly. So it's the small sided game is like the way to go for sure with these young ones. And then the big field, for parents, you'll be over on the far side watching, but you can see that it's a little bit unusual. There's a center circle in lacrosse, and that's where the game starts. So every game starts with a draw, and that takes place at the center circle. There are only 3 girls from each team that can be inside that space. Like they're either outside that center circle, or the 2 centers will be inside the center circle. There you go. And then in addition to that, so we can kind of overlap here a little bit, KK, but the center circle and those 2 lines they're called the restraining lines. And that's really important in girls lacrosse, that how many players can be in certain parts of the field at certain times. In particular, since we're looking at this field diagram, as we said, the game starts, and after every goal, you go back to the center circle for a draw. Different than the boys' face-off. A boys' face-off is on the ground. The ball goes on the ground between the backs of 2 sticks. The girls' draw is in the air. The girls are holding their sticks up. The ref puts the ball in between the head of the 2 sticks. And then on the whistle, the girls draw the sticks up and away, and the ball has to go up to start play. During that time, only those 3 players from each team are allowed inside the restraining area. And that's really for safety. So we don't have 10, 11, 9, 8, however many girls are on the field, all running towards the ball and potentially getting injured. So while the 3 in the middle are fighting for that possession, there's defense on one end and there's attackers on the other end. Other things that are really important on the field is, and you as parents and coaches, you'll get very familiar with this, is the critical scoring area. So that is this area here where KK is highlighting it. It's called we call it like the critical scoring area, but it includes the crease, the arc, and the fan. The crease is the circle that the goalie and the goal is inside of, and only the goalie or a defender could go in if the goalie steps out, but only the goalie is allowed in there. Shooters, attackers are not allowed to go into the crease. So that's protecting the goalie, and that's where the goal is. outside of the crease is the 8-meter arc. Okay. And this is inside this 8-meter arc is where all the fun happens. This is where everyone's trying to get the ball and score goals. And at the youth level, even though coaches, we want them to spread out and create opportunities for each other, they all bunch together and they live right inside that 8-meter arc. And then you'll notice there's little hash marks on there. When there is a foul inside the critical scoring area and the ref awards your player or the opposing team a free position shot, they take it from one of those hash marks. And then the bigger fan is called the 12-meter fan, and it's 4 meters behind the arc, because in girls lacrosse, that 4-meter distance is used here in this scenario to allow space for the person who is fouled to have a little space to start her drive up field, or in this case, her shot on net. And then I think it's really important to highlight, yes, the bench area. So there's a scoring table and then 2 bench areas and a substitution area. Now, Jeremy, this is something that the boys do really, really well. They respect that substitution area. I did coach boys once when my son was up and coming, and I was amazed at these youth boys that stayed inside the bench area. I feel like in girls, that is something that we just still need a little bit more help from parents and coaches to remind them that they stay inside that substitution area. Was I calling it a penalty area? Sorry, substitution area. And when their teammate comes off the field and steps into the sub area, they then can go on the field. So in a lot of sports, especially at the young level, the players will just run off and run to the bench. In lacrosse, we want them to come in and out through that substitution area. And the refs usually, and KK, correct me if I'm wrong, the refs really try to teach the young girls and the young coaches to kind of follow that rule, because it's really important at the higher level.
Yep.
Okay, other things. Did I forget anything? Center circle, penalty. Yeah, and then penalty area. So when girls are penalized, I guess to come off the field now, it would be a yellow card or a green card. Is that right?
Yeah, the youth doesn't have green card. Well, yeah, the youth doesn't have green cards yet, but the high school will this year.
Okay, so yellow cards, and if you have one playing high school, green cards, but they come off the field and they have to stay in the penalty area while the time is running out on their penalty before they can either return to the field or return to their bench. All right, so then, oh gosh, so for positioning, this is great. So with the restraining lines, this is how we start the game. We'll have, well, not necessarily exactly like this, but you can only have 3 inside the center circle area, inside the restraining area. And then you have 4 attackers at one end and 4 defenders at the other. And at the youth level, that's a great way to start. Now, it's hard not to say that there's a lot of coaches that would maybe, if you're playing a team that tends to get a jump start on you off the draw, you could bring another defender. So maybe you'd only have 3 attackers behind the line, but then you would put a 5th defender behind the line to sort of stop that fast break that might be coming from your opponent. But that's something that you all can figure out at the association level based on how the game is going.
Yeah, and then I'll just emphasize, this is the setup for 12U and 14U. For 10Us and 8Us, or 10Us and younger, they don't play this many people on the field. So 10U is seven field players and 1 goalie. So you still have the 3 midfielders, and then everybody else just needs to get like 10 yards away. So there is space for the draw to happen and not to have girls running into each other. And then 8U is 4v4. So it's a little bit different, and there's not so much positions. It's just more getting comfortable with like catching and throwing and scoring goals and that kind of stuff, and not as much positional specialization, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad you said that, because having coached 8U myself, the best part of it was just teaching the girls how to run and cradle and mark up.
Yeah.
You know, just teaching them how to be goal side. And what does goal side mean, right? So you want to be between the girl that you're defending and the goal that she's trying to score on, right? And so it's a basic concept, but if your players have not played other sports, maybe like basketball, and they understand that goal side positioning, that is a great thing to teach them at the young level. And you can do it through lots of games. I love like some basic sharks and minnows and other games that really can teach some dodging and positioning without really having to do chalkboard and X's and O type stuff. Yeah. Okay, so basic rules. We kind of talked a little bit about this. The game begins with a draw, but yeah, this is really important. They have to use their stick. They have to use their stick at all times to touch the ball. So, and this is also the big difference with boys. The boys can rake the ball back into their stick, and the girls cannot. That is covering, and it's a penalty. So we want to teach all of our players to scoop. I always say drive both hands down to the grass. So that top hand that's on the butt of the stick goes hard to the grass, and that pops the ball into the stick. But they can only use their hand, they can only use their stick, not their hand. Every time they score, they get a point, which is super fun. And it's a very high scoring game. So we want them to have lots of opportunities. It's not uncommon to have a game that's 15 to 18 or 20 to 22. It's a game where you can run, pass, cradle, and get lots of shots and lots of goals. At the younger level, it's really important that they are not stick checking. And frankly, I think the more that you can do as parents and coaches to instill in your daughters or players the importance of fundamentals, meaning their ability to pass and catch, their ability to cradle. If you go onto YouTube, there are countless stick trick videos that you can look at. Your daughter can spend hours just fiddling around with the ball in her stick and get really comfortable being able to move the ball in, move the stick with her hands, even using both hands. That would be my advice for that. Stick checking is important as you get older in the game, but it shouldn't come at the expense of really good fundamental skills or good body positioning. I think that's something else. Like if we can teach good body positioning and you are always between the player that you're defending and the goal, and she happens to have the ball, you want to hold your ground and force her away versus swinging your stick and trying to get the ball that way. Every time that a goal is scored, they will do a draw. I don't know, is there a mercy rule that goes against that, KK?
Is there a what?
Mercy rule with that? Do they?
Yeah, well, 8U doesn't do draws at all. And then at least how our mercy rule is that if a team is 4 goals or more behind, they can choose to take it at the center. So they don't necessarily have to. It's 4 goals at 10U and 12U, and it's 10 goals at 14U.
Okay.
But we had it in there that like the team gets to decide. Instead of it just being the case, because I know some coaches want them to continue to work on the draw and to fight for those balls. So it is an option. But yeah, there is, if you're getting the score is above so many, then it's not always, we want to keep it fair and consistent. And at the end of the day, like, winning and losing isn't the ultimate goal. I know that it is fun and it's a lot of people's goals, but like our goal is to have your daughters have a good experience and have fun. And so how can we make sure that that's happening? So that's where we have the mercy rule in place at the different age levels.
Right. And having coached for so many years and being on both ends, either we're very we're outmatched, the other team is far superior to us, or we are so much better than the other team. Both times it's like that's when we want to get really creative as coaches and really compassionate as parents, because regardless of what side of that that lopsided game your daughter is on, it doesn't feel good all the time, right? To have teams running circles around you or a team that doesn't know what they're doing just because they're newer, and we want more girls to keep playing. So the mercy rule is important, but also how we model as coaches and parents is really important too. And then some of the big rules that you will hear as your daughter's playing or your players are playing this spring. One is called 3 seconds. And that is a rule that takes place inside the critical scoring area. If your player is standing inside that critical scoring area, inside that 8-meter, and she's not marking anybody, and she's there for longer than 3 seconds, then the ref will blow the whistle and give the other team, the team will get a free position shot. She has to be within a stick's length of a player, and defending to not be called for 3 seconds. And literally the stick, the shafts, the stick and the head is the stick's length of how close we want the players to be to the girls that they're defending. But you're going to hear about 3 seconds all the time. And it's amazing, right? This is very subjective in a lot of ways, because they're not using a stopwatch. The refs are counting this in their head. And we will get refs from the high school girls up to refs that also ref hockey, basketball, soccer. They come from all different backgrounds and all different walks of life. And sometimes they're going to make calls that maybe we don't agree with, but you'll for sure get some 3-second calls. You will also get shooting space calls. Shooting space is very similar to 3 seconds in that it takes place in the critical scoring area. And for those of you who are hockey families or even boys lacrosse, this is one of the things that you have to get used to. In girls lacrosse, if I have the ball in my stick and I want to shoot at the net and there is a player from the other team in my way, I cannot shoot the ball. It is on me as the shooter to not take that shot, because in girls lacrosse, we aren't wearing helmets and full body protection. So we don't want to be throwing balls at each other. And so the call that precedes you potentially taking the shot is called shooting space. The refs are always watching for, is there someone between the shooter and the goal, and she's not within a stick's length of the player with the ball. So as long as your team, if you're defending, if they are within a stick's length of the player with the ball, they will not get called for shooting space. But if they are not within a stick's length, so they're not defending her, and she looks like she's going to shoot, the ref should blow the whistle and call shooting space. If the ref does not blow the whistle and call shooting space and a player takes a shot, then that player gets a yellow card. The player who took the shot gets the yellow card for dangerous propelling. And I think that's just really important to remember. As I spectate a lot of youth games in the area, I hear parents talk about that a lot and like, that's not fair. Why does that happen? No, it is on, and we want to show respect for this game. And so as a player with the ball in your stick, you just want to make sure that you are not shooting it into a player that's standing too far away from you. The other one is the goalie. We talked about this. Only the goalie can go inside the crease. So, and when the goalie makes a save, which all the goalies will, she can pick up the ball, and she has, KK, at the youth level, also 10 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah. So 10 seconds that she can hang on to the ball in the crease before she needs to let it go. If she comes out of the crease, she has more time, but now she's also considered a field player. And she could be defended by players around her from the other team to try to get the ball back. That's a very quick overview of some basic rules. Are there any questions at all about rules that we didn't talk about here that you're curious about before we move on? Okay, if you get one, throw it in the chat. Okay, so official signals. I love that KK put this in here. I am actually, as a coach, former player, a lacrosse parent, I do not know a lot of the ref symbols. There's a few that I know. I mean, charging and warding and covering, those are some, and 3 seconds, of course, shooting space. But there's a lot here, and I would encourage parents to just take a look at them so that when you're watching a game and you're seeing some of the signals that the officials are making, you can familiarize yourself with them. And you'll probably recognize over the course of the spring season that there'll be some common repetitive signals that you see from the refs. And then KK, I think you said this will get posted on your website.
Yep. Yeah. I'll put this presentation up on our website. And then even if like you just Google like girls lacrosse official signals, these will come up. So that's what I did. And that's how I got these. So I pulled them directly from USA Lacrosse. So it's pretty easy to get them if you don't want to pull up the whole presentation.
Perfect. And then the second page, or was this, okay, here we go. Yeah, so here's some more. I think some of the ones on this one are really good to call out. I talked about covering. Oh, can you share a link to the website, KK? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Every single person on this call, you're going to see the ref do the covering symbol. Even when girls aren't meaning to, when they're jabbing for the ball, someone's going to cover it with their stick and the ref will blow the whistle. Check to the head. That is an automatic yellow card in girls lacrosse. And it happens. Again, this is why, especially at the youth level, we really want to instill in them body position and stick skills. So really good cradling, body position for defense, ability to dodge, pass and catch, rather than spending a ton of time on checking. But if they do get a contact to the head, then that is a card, and that is a penalty that the ref will make that sign for. Empty cross check. Yeah. So a lot of times the girls, they scrum together and everyone's just banging on sticks trying to get the ball out. Nothing to be too concerned with. Empty stick check. It happens all the time. The ref will blow the whistle, give the ball to someone, and the play will resume. And then, oh yeah, goal. That's a fun one. Making sure you all get that one. So hopefully you get to watch your team score lots of goals. But then illegal cradle in the sphere. This one is so interesting. So in girls lacrosse, there's an imaginary bubble around every player's head. And if the opposing team puts their stick inside this imaginary bubble, it is that is a penalty, as is cradling. If I'm playing and cradling with my stick so close to my face that it's inside my own protective bubble, that is a penalty on me. KK, anything to add to that?
No, I think those are good ones. And like knowing the sphere as your kids get older, is like it's only going to become more important, because then that is deals with checking and stick checking too.
For parents or coaches on here, and we can, if you have questions about like particular plans or drills, feel free to reach out. KK, you can throw my Coach Mo Sanderson email in there too.
Okay.
But I would encourage you at the very beginning to have your players work with both hands right from day one. Mm-hmm. Oh, are these penalties? Rick had a question. I think they're mostly across all ages, but maybe some of the youngers don't have all the same rules.
Yeah, most of them are all of the ones that we talked about. They're all across every age level. The differences really come to like the game time and then the checking. And then like the younger ages have the 3 seconds closely guarded, which Mo, I don't know if you want to talk about that one.
Oh yeah, that's really good. Okay, so yeah. At the young level, and this goes back to teaching our players really good body defense, right? So if you are playing really good defense, then there's no checking. So what are you supposed to do? But there is a rule of 3 seconds closely guarded where you as the defender can cause a turnover. KK, jump in if I'm not doing this right. But
no, so that's my understanding.
Right. So I'm not just going to stand and do nothing as a defender. I'm going to get right on my player. Like, and we teach the hands on the stick can be touching the body. Mm-hmm. So your player's hands on their stick can go right out to the other girl's kind of arm. And if she can do that for 3 seconds, the ref can give the ball to her because there's no checking allowed. Yep. Sometimes just putting a little pressure on the other team, just like not even touching them, but just like kind of being close to them. Oftentimes they will turn the ball over just because they're all beginners and still learning how to cradle and hold the ball. And then you really want to teach, okay, let's scoop up that ball quick, because that's also a turnover, which is a great like segue into statistics. If you track nothing else besides goals, I would strongly encourage you to track caused turnovers. We really want to celebrate when any of our players is able to get the ball back. The kids that score and get assists, they get so much glory. Sometimes, they maybe hear their name announced or they get in the stat book, but really celebrating those kind of like less celebrated statistics, those caused turnovers, interceptions, knockdowns can be really motivating for your girls that maybe aren't the goal scorers. But for field players, if you have somebody, a parent that's willing to help, it's really nice to keep track of the stats over the season so you can see their growth. And whether you're coaching or you're a parent, you can say, wow, look at your team in the first 3 games, you scored 4 goals in each game. And by the 6th, 7th, 8th game, as a team, now you're scoring 8, 9, and 10 goals. Or, wow, you have so many more assists now versus what you used to have with, maybe just one player running with it. Ground balls are great to track, as is draw control. I think all these statistics would be really helpful to keep as a coach or as a parent if you're helping out the coaching staff. And then for goalies, of course, we want to track their saves, their percentages, their caused turnovers, as well as the ground balls. And that's just, KK, I don't know if at the youth level, do they have stat books that they use?
I think that's association and dependent. So some of them do, some of them don't, but they're similar to the high school ones.
Okay, there's really nice STX and Brine. I don't know if
Yep.
other companies make them, stat books that you can get that also give you a chance to do your lineup. And I think that's really important so that you make sure that you know who's playing, who your subs are, how you're going to rotate your girls into the game. And if you have them all written down on that lineup, that can be really helpful as well.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have some time for questions. But I think as I was talking to KK earlier, as being around the game for as long as I have, I've been around it for basically more than 30 years, either as a player, a coach, a parent, in some capacity. And I think if you remember nothing about a stick, a ball, goggles, field positions, ref symbols, I hope that you remember a few takeaways on how you as parents, or if you're also coaching, how you can provide the best experience and opportunity for your daughter and for the other players on the field. The first is just recognizing the difference between being in a coach role and a parent role. And I've been in both. As a coach, obviously anyone who's coaching, it's your job to nurture, to teach to the best of your ability to teach the skills of the game, to put a lineup together, to encourage your girls, be their biggest cheerleader, and then make corrections as you see fit, right? If the team is really struggling with a certain skill, that would be a great indication that you got to check your practice plan and see if you're giving the girls time to work on dodging or ground ball pickups or shooting. But as a parent, it's really all of our jobs as parents to support our daughters in playing the sport and hopefully doing our best to keep it fun for them. As a mental health counselor, I work in a high school setting, and I have quite a few athletes who come to see me for counseling sessions. And a lot of them really do talk about the difference between when they know that them doing well seems to mean more to their parents than it does to them. And it can be really easy, especially if you have a younger daughter, to get caught up in this, oh my gosh, my daughter, she's so good. I mean, she's the fastest one on the team. She seems to be picking up this faster than anybody else. Pretty soon she's going to be playing on all these elite club teams. Just enjoy the game that she's playing. Don't get too caught up. As these girls grow and develop and go through puberty, sometimes their interests change and they may not be as passionate about it maybe as they were when they were 6, 7, 8, or 9. But we hope that all parents will keep the fun there so that they'll want to keep coming back and enjoy that experience. And that really folds into nurturing a growth mindset. So as parents, like what I just said, when I use the example of, oh, this girl's so good, that's actually a very fixed mindset statement. Statements like, wow, my daughter really worked hard. She gave so much effort today at practice. I noticed that her ground ball pickup seemed to be so much cleaner today. When you point those things out, you're nurturing a growth mindset, which is simply helping your daughters realize that the effort they put in can lead to improvement versus a fixed mindset, which believes you either have it or you don't, right? You're either good at something or you're not. And that takes a lot of the control out of the athletes. It's like, well, why even bother trying? Maybe I'm just not good at this skill. So nurturing a growth mindset is another thing I want, and I hope all parents will do. Thanks, Maggie. I can't read that whole thing, but KK, maybe jump in and comment.
Yeah, it's more of a comment. She's just saying thank you.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maggie. The third bullet point is just really, as parents, resisting the urge to fix things. So there will be, I hope there is for your daughter, some adversity that hits her when she's playing, right? Maybe she doesn't get the position that she wants. Maybe somebody else is playing goalie and she wanted to, or she was hoping to take the draw, but Susie got to do it instead. This is a time where we as parents can teach our daughters how to advocate for themselves. So yes, if your daughter's 6 or 7, maybe, and there's some safety concern, maybe you get involved. But at most levels, as a former coach, I loved it when my players would come up to me and say, Coach Mo, I really hope that today I get to take the draw. Or is there a reason why, I'm not playing attack, but this other person is? And we can have a real conversation about maybe the skills that she has to work on or how she can get more playing time depending on the level. But as parents, get curious. If your daughter comes home and is maybe not having as much fun as maybe she had, like, hey, what's changed? What do you think's changed? And how can I support you as your parent? If nothing else, all you have to say is, I love watching you play, right? My youngest daughter plays lacrosse at Milwaukee School of Engineering, and she had a game at Stout on Saturday that I went and watched. And I was sitting in the stands, and there was a dad, I don't even know if he was from Stout or MSOE, who was on the spectator side, and he was shouting for most of the first period to his daughter who was on the field and kind of telling her what to do. And he seemed really agitated, right? That she maybe wasn't doing what she was supposed to do. That is really hard for athletes, even at the collegiate level, to have not only their coach on the sideline giving them instructions of where they want them to go or what to do, but then parents having their own agenda, like really wanting their daughter to do a certain thing. So if I shout loud enough, then she maybe will hear me and do it. But all you have to say is, I love watching you play. I love watching you play. The girls, every single time I've coached any team, they know when they mess up. They know when they make a mistake. And the last thing they need from us as their parent is for us to point it out. Get curious. Hey, what'd you think about the game? Hey, how was practice today? Is there anything you want to talk about? Give them space. And finally, I put this picture in. This is my oldest daughter, who this is 10 years ago. She played for Stillwater, and this was, I guess, at either the section championship game or maybe as they were getting ready to go to state. But at the end of the day, it's about friendship and fun. 10 years later, she still talks to all these girls. When she's home, they get together because of this experience she had on the field. And I know I messed up. There were definitely times when I did the things that as a parent maybe I shouldn't have done. And I've learned a lot over the years of how to best support them. But for all of you, maybe just starting off in this sport, it is the greatest experience, not just for you as parents and coaches, but for your daughters. And so my ask is that you do everything you can to keep it fun for them. And you know what? They're going to have good games and they're going to have some not so good games. But how they play on the field, I know this does not indicate how much you love them. I know you love your kids, regardless of if they have the best game or the worst game. So just making sure that they know that, regardless of what's going on. So I left a few minutes, KK, if there are people that want to jump in with questions.
Yeah.
We can get some conversations going. If anybody has like real specific questions, that's fine too.
Yeah, you can feel free to unmute yourself or put stuff in the chat, whichever you feel more comfortable about. Anyone?
We got a lot of first-year coaches here. How's everyone feeling about the season starting?
I need to go directly in the shower because I didn't take a shower.
Directly in the shower.
Oh, we got a hand up.
Okay.
I just meant to come off mute and say I'm really excited to coach the girls for the first time. They played last year, so I got a gist of it. I watched a lot of videos and I'm pretty ready for it, but I have other coaching experience and just really looking forward to it.
I love that. And Jeremy, do you have assistants working with you?
I have a couple guys that have volunteered to help out from now and then, and one guy that said he'd help out whenever, every practice. So got helpers. They didn't play, so they're excited to learn too. I'm kind of friends with them through our kids anyway. So it's gonna be fun. I had Johnny Kane as the girls coach last year, and he was awesome too.
Oh,
So it's
fantastic.
helpful to have people helping transition, you know.
Well, thanks for stepping up and coaching. And I would encourage everyone else who's on the call, if you aren't coaching, especially some of the moms out there, you don't need to have lacrosse experience to be a great coach. You don't. If you know how to connect with kids, if you can encourage them, volunteer to help coach. You will have a blast. Oh, here we go. Edgar, thank you. New sport for the household. Yeah, you're going to have a blast. Just enjoy every minute of it.
His name is.
Yay. All right. Any other last questions?
Please reach out if you have any, and I wish you all the very best of luck this spring. Let's hope for a nice, warm, dry spring and lots of fun out on the fields.
Yeah, and I shared Mo's email up there. I can share mine as well if you guys ever have anything or need anything, especially if we get you guys coaching, like feel free to reach out. I know that we have I can share a couple of links in the chat too. If you are going to be coaches, we've had a couple of other virtual sessions that have been more on the coaching side and not just for like a lax 101, but have some more like advanced, not advanced, but like offensive and defensive tutorials, one on transitions and draws. So I will share that website, and then I will also share one that is so that's our virtual coaching session one. And then one thing we are doing this year, which your associations should be pushing out to you, is there's a program called the Certified Lacrosse Parents, and they have something similar on the soccer side, but this one is lacrosse specific. But it's just a little like 15-minute course, and it talks to you about how a lot of what Mo just said, but there might be a little bit, and I think getting different presentations and information a couple times is also helpful for us, especially as we are parents and know that we tend to want to fix things, but it's not always appropriate and the best for our kids to fix things right after games or in games. And so I'll share the Certified Lacrosse Parent, but it's a little course that we at GNLL are sponsoring for all the parents that have kids that are participating with GNLL this spring. So the code that you'll just enter is just GNLL. So it's super simple, super easy, but you'll get that for free. And there's a spot to write down your association. And we're keeping track. So like the association that gets the most parents to watch it will get a little prize. We have yet to name what the prize is, so I'm not going to do that now because I haven't even sent this out to the directors yet. But yeah, so I think overall, like reach out if you have anything. We're all here. I mean, Mo and I, pretty much everybody that I know that has played lacrosse continues to still love it and want to give back to this sport. So it's something that we feel really passionate about. And know a lot of other people that feel passionate about and just want your kids to have a great time and to come back and continue to keep playing because there's so much that we can gain out of sport. Cool. Well, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.